The Morning Brew podcast with Jaffe and Razor, sponsored by Berkshire Bank Home Lending. Where you borrow matters.
Well, it's nothing like a Boston Bruins victory over the Montreal Canadiens to boost you up a little bit as we welcome you into Morning Brew with Jaffe and Razor, presented by our lead sponsor, Berkshire Bank. And Razor, I know this is a Canadiens team that is struggling this year, significantly better, though, under Marty St. Louis. And you can look at this game and be like, geez, it should have been a lot different. But you know what? They've been a scrappy team lately, and the Bruins on a Brad Marchand overtime goal come through after it. I would not call it a lethargic effort, but I would call it a significantly sloppy after post-trade deadline day. And we'll get into all that in a moment. But, buddy, good to talk to you again. We did it yesterday. We're doing a special brew last night. We're doing this one after the Bruins game. I guess I'm happy they won. Did I love how they got there? No. But you know what? As I love to say, not every game can be a Picasso.
Yeah, absolutely. And the comeback's nice, too. That makes it feel better. I think with 6 minutes left in the third, you're thinking, all right, they lost 2-1, and it was just one of those days, long day. They get to come home off the road and make excuses for them. And then Clifton makes a great play, scores a goal, and, of course, Brad scores in overtime because that's all he does, and now you feel extra good. So, most importantly for me, I love seeing them tied with Toronto in the standings and 1 point behind the Tampa Bay Lightning. And some of that, all the work they've done since January 1st is starting to come to the barn.
If you weren't with us watching on NESN postgame, I think that this is a worthwhile stat or nugget, as I like to call him, about Brad Marchand. That was his career 17th game-winning overtime goal. I guess that's repetitive. Overtime goal. They're all game-winning in overtime. That ties him with Kovalchuk at 17. And then Sid Crosby has 18. Jaromir Jagr has 19. Alex Ovechkin leads the way with 24. The real interesting thing besides that, though, is that Ovechkin has 1,259 games played. Jagr has, a billion. Sid has 1,090. Kovalchuk, 926. Brad did it in 856 games. So, I mean, it just goes to prove that, he's a gamer. He's a winner. He's a guy that he first period put the team on his back, literally, figuratively. And, second and third, all right. Some opportunities here and there, but then he was a man on a mission in OT.
Oh, and he's so exciting because of his faults at times. He draws 2 penalties in the first. He takes 1 penalty. He scores a goal in the first. He turns it over with a horrendous turnover in the third, which causes the goal to go down the other again. And then he scores in overtime. So he's 2-1 on penalties. He's 2-1 on goals for, goals against. And I was thinking about it with that list. I bet you've seen the most of those overtime goals.
Oh, yeah.
As any other sports or an analyst, with Kovalchuk scoring 4-on-4 nonstop for the Atlanta Thrashers.
Yeah, and then
Brad Marchand.
Yeah, you're right. I did watching. Oh, the
he
mighty
was sick
Thrash.
4-on-4.
The mighty.
If he got 4-on-4, Thrashers won because Kovalchuk just flew everybody.
Well, he'd go out there with Heatley.
It was unbelievable.
The two of them.
Scary.
Oh, my God. And that was about the only thing they were scary.
That's the only time they said those, 17 he's got? They won 17 wins in 4 years, and all in overtime.
I wonder how many, not to tangent too much, that Covey got with Atlanta and then New Jersey. But regardless, you're the first couple of years with Atlanta when they had Heatley, and then when Marian Hossa came there for a year, and Haas was big time. Oh, Blue Land, you're just a distant memory now. Good times, but a long time ago. But those are just, I thought it was a great nugget. That's from my buddy Ben Boma, one of the great stats guys associated not just with the NHL, but also with NFL and a guy that just knows his stuff. All right, let's just real quick go through this game. We're really here more to talk about the trade deadline. and what happened and what didn't happen on Monday. Again, we had a full throttle show, 45 minutes full on Sunday night, a special brew for you folks. If you haven't listened to it yet, go back and listen to it. We talk all about Hampus and everything, and we go through that. But in this game, Marchand comes out playing with Studnicka and Jake DeBrusk. Jake DeBrusk, who signed a 2-year contract extension on Monday morning. Maybe he signed it Sunday. Regardless, it was announced Monday morning. It got all of the Bruins world, all Bruins Nation into a tizzy, into a heater. You want to talk about completely in one, because most people thought, and I guess rightfully so, that another move was coming. It turns out that it doesn't happen. He stays with the team, and he goes out and plays. And I just felt like Brad Marchand, without Patrice Bergeron there, took those two guys in the first period and said, maybe didn't even verbalize it to them, but just said, I got you. I'm going to go out and kick some ass. Come with me. Don't watch me. Come with me. I thought that was a great leadership moment for the first period.
I agree. He did that. He leads by example most of the time. Most of the time. You're always going to have that caveat for almost everything that Brad does, but that's what makes him what he is. And I think the players all recognize, even when he does cross the line, young guys like Studnicka, and I'll lump DeBrusk in as a young guy, recognize his competitiveness, his care, his passion, and it has to be infectious, especially if you're out on the ice with him and you're seeing him making second, third, fourth, fifth efforts, as Bruce Cassidy said after the game, on a consistent basis, on a nightly basis. It just has to bleed into your game. It has to be something that you recognize, and it has to be something that you focus on for your own game.
No question. So he comes out, scores that goal at the 9:21 mark after coming out of the penalty box. Erik Haula, who had a nice game after not having such a great game in Winnipeg. Coincidence? I don't think so. I think not. I think that this was okay, shit, I better, I want to hold on, at least have a chance to hold on to that second center spot, especially given the fact that the Bruins didn't end up trading for a second liner.
And I think Erik Haula responds very well to that. It seems as though
But you're going to have to do it to him regularly?
I don't. It hasn't been too regular. I think he's been pretty good since January 1st, but I think Bruce is quick to get on him because he knows he can get him back quickly as well. I don't think it seems as though he doesn't get discouraged. He actually gets fired up about it. He gets upset about it. So you might be able to do it a little bit more for him. You're going to get to the whip a little bit earlier than what you might some other guys and let them work out of it. You can't do it every game, obviously, but I think in this scenario, to your point, he did get the message, and he did hear it loud and clear, and he made 2 really good offensive plays. And again, we've talked about it before with Haula. Anytime he has an opportunity to be on the ice with good players,
he loves it.
He loves it. He relishes it, and he steps up, and I think, again, he did that in overtime. You could see he got on his horse, and he recognized Brad was going to get the puck, and he took off down the right wing, and then he pulls up and makes a great play. I think he relishes playing with Brad Marchand and gets on the ice with Brad Marchand. He wants to do better.
All right, well, I do want to just quickly go over the rest of the game, but I'll still throw this out now as I put my own speed bump in the way. Can he be their number 2 center? It's a question that everybody's asking after the no extra move for a middle 6 forward, whomever that was, whether it was a Ricard Raquel, who's a right wing, or it was Andrew Kopp, who's a center left wing, or you know what I mean? I wouldn't call the center trade options, pure number 2 center options, great. In fact, I don't even know if there was one. Sean Monahan, who we brought up, hasn't been a number 2 center at all this year. Could he have maybe been forced into or given that opportunity? Maybe. But with all that said, I'll get back to my original question. How do we feel confidence-wise that Erik Haula can be that number 2 center when the mega tough Eastern Conference playoffs are going to begin?
Well, you have no choice. I think that that's where I go to, and I know the question is how much confidence. I don't know, but what I do know is that that's what it is. And I also know that he's playing with 2 world-class wingers, that it's going to be more by committee on that line than most other lines and most other second-line centers. Do I like that line better than I like having Carson Kuhlman playing with David Krejci on the second line? Yes. So if I put it that way, if I think about it that way, Haula's not David Krejci, but if you're playing Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals with Carson Kuhlman and David Krejci as your second line, I probably feel better with this one.
I get it. I understand, and I appreciate you trying to make that comment. But I guess, I'm looking at other second-line centers just around the East, and this is not directed, meaning negatively towards Eric. I'm just saying is this his ideal slot? I guess that's the question. But I get what you're saying. It has to be right now.
Yeah.
If it isn't,
who is it going to be?
That's exactly the next comment I had.
And it isn't. We already went through this a little bit off camera tonight. There isn't any other way to make this work. The way this is constructed.
Because it's not Studnicka.
It's not. It's very obvious it's not Jack Studnicka. He is not ready. He just isn't ready. You see it even in the last 2 games. He's had an opportunity to play with Brad Marchand. You go through the notes. He's got 1 goal in 34 games now. I don't see him. He can't play fast enough at the NHL level, especially to play with Taylor Hall and David Pastrnak. He just can't. It's not processing fast enough for him right now.
So the line in the game against Montreal for Erik Haula: 2 assists, a +2, 14.5 minutes, 2 shots on net, 10 of 16 in the faceoff circle. Not bad. Nice line. Not bad. Really nice. Jack Studnicka, just to throw it out there, no points, 3 shots on goal, almost 15 minutes of ice time, 3 giveaways. And he was 5 of 7 in the faceoff circle. The Bruins overall did a nice job against Montreal. 32 wins, 20 losses in the faceoff circle. By the way, they outshot Montreal 46-28. But just barely, they win in overtime 3-2. Go ahead.
No, I'm just going to bring up kind of what we saw tonight a little bit, in that come playoff time, can Bruce Cassidy use Charlie Coyle and Patrice, and probably not Patrice, but more Charlie Coyle? Can he get him every other shift or every 4th shift on that side? And I don't mean a regular second line. I just mean in situations
spot duty,
where at the end of the game, Charlie Coyle, for instance, jumped up onto the first line in tonight's game against Montreal to hold that 2-2 lead. Are there times within the game where that's how you use Charlie Coyle, and that's how valuable Charlie has to be for this team, and that makes him more important for this team, playing 19 minutes a night on the third line?
Yes, you can use him like that. He did play over 19 minutes in this game, but a lot of those minutes too were on the power play because Patrice wasn't in the lineup, still out with an injury to the arm, elbow area. Hopefully, by the way, folks, he'll be back for Thursday. I'm still of the school, if you have any doubt, sit him out.
Yeah.
That's it.
He can take another 3 weeks off if he wants to take the kids to school every day and hang out.
Exactly. Although he wouldn't like it.
No,
that's the only problem. Just coming into this game, just for not argument's sake, just for statistical sake, Coyle averaging 17-19. And again, a lot of that has to do with his special team ice time. For comparison's sake, Patrice Bergeron 18-23, Erik Haula 14-47. Is his average coming into this game. So Haula pretty much played to his average. Yes, you can use Charlie Coyle there. You don't want to take away, though, from that third line if they're flowing. You want him out there regularly. I do think if there's not a lot of penalties that Charlie relishes, that Coyle will relish those minutes. It's a fair option. It's it's a different feel, though. Haula is going to look to move the puck to those guys quickly. Coyle's going to look to hold on to it and possess it more. But maybe that's part of the in-game toggling that will be done by Bruce Cassidy. But that's something to keep in mind. Quickly, again, to run through the game, it's 1-0, end of 1. Then David Savard scores a backhand goal to make it 1-1 halfway through the second period. When there's a bit of a breakdown, puck doesn't get out, and then Frederick overplays, allows Savard to come in, backhand shot. I think it ramped off the stick of Forbert, if I remember correctly in front. All right, third period, it's a bad pass by Brad Marchand. The defense is not exactly where they need to be to. However, Marchand owned it post-game. Joel Armia goes in on a really nice breakaway, goes glove side bar down past Swayman, shorthanded goal at 1:13 into the third period. And then Connor Clifton ties the game up with 3 minutes remaining in the third on a really nice play from Frederick in the neutral zone. two coil along the wall, right wing half wall. Then Smitty picks it up, and Craig Smith. You could hear on the game action. You could hear Carney Clifton yelling, "Hey, you know!" Hey!
Yeah.
And he got it to him, but it was an aerial, one of those quick up and downs, but a little awkward almost looking. And he made a beautiful skate-to-stick type play, right? Settled it and sniped it on the ice past a sliding over, I'll call it, Jake Allen, who played a really nice game, by the way, to tie it at 2 before Brad Marchand in overtime with a gorgeous goal. In the overtime, on the gorgeous goal, 34 seconds in, I don't know if Grzelcyk will get credit for just enough credit. He doesn't get an assist on it or anything. But on the initial rush, I think it was against Caulfield or Suzuki. I can't remember which one. I thought he did a really nice job. Just keeping him to the outside. Then there was a little switch. And then Brad was able to get the puck behind the net and make out the other way to Haula.
Yeah, that's right. It was Caulfield who lost control of it over on the right side of Swayman. And that was Grzelcyk forcing him out. And they tried to make a play and bobbled it. And then to your point, in the broadcast, Grzelcyk busted his ass all the way to right to the blue paint.
Yep.
Head down all the way. Forced Petrie to go with him. And Petrie thought Suzuki was on Marchand. Suzuki drops his stick. Marchand gets the extra step. And because Grzelcyk continues to go, he doesn't pull up in any way whatsoever. Petrie's so focused on him that he loses track of the fact that Marchand's got 3 steps and so wide open behind him. So to your point, Grizz did a really nice job working his ass off to get into the play initially with Haula and then continue the play all the way to the net.
Yeah, I liked it. I just did. Once, and by the way, once Marsh got the puck in the high slot.
That's automatic.
Oh, my God. And did he fake Jake Allen? Did he smoke him?
He smoked the jock strap.
The old
jock strap in the 8th row.
Oh my gosh, with the hands, and then the backhand covering of the puck, and then he just brought it to the backhand and deposited it into the gaping net. Bruins win 3-2, and now they've lost just 2 games. 2 games in regulation since Feb 10th against Ottawa. I mean, that's when this whole thing started. Just 2 games in regulation. And, Feb 19. That's it.
Yep.
The Islander game was on the 17th.
Yep.
They started winning against the Ottawa Senators. And their only 2 losses have come to the Anaheim Ducks in Anaheim, a game that they burped up, literally. Barfed that one actually, at the end. And then the Minnesota Wild, the game that,
schedule loss.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, Minnie played pretty well. Holy smokes. Did Minnesota do some good stuff in the last few days?
Yeah, they did.
They
did.
smokes.
I mean, they get in the Flower and your boy Delorier, who's going to win the Conn Smythe, I think. And then and Middleton. A lot of talk in Middleton. That's a sneaky one today because Fleury's been the big talk. But they needed a little bit of meat and potatoes on the back end too, Minnesota.
They did.
Especially going against Calgary, and you're looking at Colorado, and they addressed that. So Billy Guerin, he's a hockey NHL lifer. He knows what it takes to win, and he understands it, and he did what his team needed him to do.
Yeah, and his owner, full faith in him, lets him do the thing. Let him buy out Parise and Suter, knowing that they would be in cap hell next 2 seasons after this one. Still allowed him to do it to change the culture of the team. Then he goes out after saying about a week and a half ago that the team was playing pretty poorly. Can't trade their way out of it. And then lo and behold, holy shit, does he trade their way out of it? I mean, Marc-Andre Fleury.
Call him whatever you want.
Billy Guerin, his former teammate, Penguins executive too, talks him. I don't know if he talks him into it. I think he just had that conversation of, listen, we're going to do this
just
and
come.
this. Just come here.
Just get up here.
Just come here. I'll buy you a couple of beers.
It's exactly what I guarantee you that's it. Just get up here. All right, just get on the plane. The plane's coming.
I'll be on the plane. I'll be on the plane.
We're gonna hang out. We're gonna have fun. Get up here.
Yeah, and Billy G kind of he's like, "Hey, get up here.
Yeah,
just trust me. Hey, Flower, get up here, or I'll kick your ass. But get up here. Yeah. We're gonna have a great time. We'll take care of the family. Everybody's gonna be well looked after. Don't worry. You're gonna love it up here." And that's exactly how Billy G talks.
Yep.
And he got the guy. And I agree with you about Middleton. A player that the Bruins had been linked to, a really good pickup. They're giants now. All of a sudden, they go from solid size to a bunch of behemoths. You had 2 big guys there and a big time goalie. So keep an eye out for Minnesota. I wasn't believing in them I got to tell you something now. They could do something out west. All right, we'll touch on what the Bruins did on Monday and a couple of other things. But first, real quick, it's time to mention our awesome friends over at Fazenda Coffee. FazendaCoffee.com is where you go and find them, and you use the code MORNINGBREW at checkout. You'll get 15% off your order. You go check out all of their whole bean or ground coffee. They've got all the different choices you could want. And, go check them out in Roslindale at Fornax Bread. If you go there, they're carrying Fazenda, they're serving it, and go have a great loaf of bread or a great bakery product and get a Fazenda coffee. Fazenda is Boston's specialty coffee roasters. All of our friends over at Fazenda, they're working their asses off. We got to get over there.
I know. I was just going to bring that up. I would really like to get over there.
And it's not far away in Dedham. We'll go do it. But order from them, Morning Brew at checkout. And again, you'll get 15% off. They've got everything you could want and more. And we love being partners with Fazenda. All right. Boston on Monday. They end up, after getting Sunday Hampus Lindholm, they get him on the 8-year deal. We know that they've got to be involved in stuff. We know it. They have to be. And I think they were significantly involved in a lot of things, but a lot of things doesn't mean that much is going to happen. It's just the way that it works. They have signed Jake DeBrusk. Let's get right into that, to a 2-year deal. Were you surprised when you saw that social media announcement?
Yes, initially surprised. And within seconds, that surprise went away, and assumed there was another social media post coming in right behind it.
Okay.
Explaining that he was traded somewhere, and okay, that makes sense. That creates securities for whoever wanted Jake DeBrusk for 2 years. So they're not trading for a rental at that point. That was my initial thought. So surprise. Obviously, that's the way it is. And then at 3:07, surprise again that they actually didn't get a deal done for him. You?
I was surprised. I did think that it meant there was enough interest. Because I kept hearing there was. I talked to a lot of people. I kept hearing, yes, there's interest in him, but ... The qualifying offer is holding off people. Over $4 million, well over. I thought it was 4.4. We were discussing. I thought it was what the qualifying offer would be at 4.4, and people just weren't sure about it. So as soon as I thought, when I heard that it was a 2-year, $4 million a year, I got to be honest with you. I think that was it's a little higher than he'd get if he was traded to a team, and they said to him, "Look, come play. We're going to give you a 2-year deal at 3.6." Mm-hmm. That's what I thought he'd get. Maybe 3.75 a year. And, to a team where he would be good going, even though he didn't control it. He had no trade protection per se. Still doesn't, by the way.
Yeah. And Don made a point of that a few times.
You're right.
All the time. He still doesn't have say in where he goes. We did not put a no trade clause in his 2-year contract.
Right, exactly.
It was.
I don't think he'd be asking for one.
No, I hope probably did.
Agents asked for he doesn't have it. So I thought, I kept saying to myself, okay, 4, little high, but maybe they're saying, look, Jake, we're not rewarding. What's the word? We're negotiating here. Let's get you to sign. We know that there are these 5 teams interested. Now let's see if we can work out a deal getting you signed at that amount of money.
That's exactly it. That's the other thing. When you see 4, you assume, all right, the Bruins had their backs against the wall a little bit in that they had to get Jake signed to be able to make the trade. So, all right, Jake, we'll give you the extra couple $100,000 a year, but you need to sign this now so we can get this deal done.
Right. Which is what I think ended up happening.
Yeah.
That's my best take on it. And then the Bruins said, look, we know we've got all these teams that and we're going to circle back with them. We're going to show them that you're taken care of. And maybe could the Bruins then have been in a position of more weakness then? I don't know, because then people say, well, you signed him and now we know you want to move him.
We'll wait till the summer now.
Now we'll wait till summer. Right. Is that what? I don't know. I don't know. And some of the offers were crazy for players out there, and some of them weren't. But obviously, Don Sweeney, he's been busting his ass. He has absolutely been busting his ass. You talked about it on Sunday's show, how he's been grinding for the last couple of days. Probably, you know, working on no sleep, et cetera, type of thing. But I'm sure they just didn't get enough, but they had to have been in on a lot. They had to have been in on a ton. They ended up getting Josh Brown from Ottawa, 6'5", 220 pounds. Was he 28-year-old? I think it's 28. I could be wrong. Sorry, I don't have it in front of me. Right shot defenseman. Has played 4 years in the National Hockey League after a couple of years in the American League. He's a big depth defenseman. I think we both agree we like the move just to add depth right there.
They needed another guy in the back end. That it would have been a disastrous. It would have been a disaster had they not got someone else on the back end. And Josh Brown fits the mold. You didn't want them to go out and give a lot up to get another guy back there just to be the depth guy. So yeah, I really like the move. It's big. He's strong. He's a right shot. He's long. You can take 15 minutes maybe in a game at some point, and just make it hard for other teams in matchup situations. A big, strong team that has a third and fourth line that play deep and want to get the puck in. That's where he's going to be relied upon.
Right. We'll have to see with our own eyes how well he skates. Can he handle the quickness that ends up becoming in the playoffs? Can he move the puck as quickly?
Can he figure out the Bruins system?
Absolutely.
That's always the question.
Can he hand off? It's a handoff system. It's not a man-to-man. It's not a strict zone. So there's a handoff. There's checks and marks there. Can he handle that? Can he think the game quickly? I don't know. I've seen his game. I don't mind his game. But to say the end-all, be-all move, no. I mean, you know, he broke his finger this year earlier. You know, is he going to be fighting a lot? I don't know. I think the threat is there, which is a good thing for the Bruins to have that on the back end. So we both like that. We both think, I will speak for you here only because we talked about it earlier, that the Bruins were in on other players like Andrew Kopp, like Ricard Raquel from Anaheim. I cannot imagine that they weren't. You know, everything I'm hearing and told, et cetera, is that they were in on a lot of stuff. But being in on and being able to pull it off are two different things. Maybe the Lindholm deal hamstrung them. And maybe, just maybe, you know, you look at the Ricard Raquel deal, for instance, holy smokes, that ended up being a lot. You know, you're talking Zach Aston Reese and Simone and two pick. I mean, if it works, if you're Pitt and it works, it's awesome, right?
Yep.
You got to take the chance. The Bruins probably just didn't have the overall arsenal to offer for a player like that.
Or didn't covet him as much. Or they thought they were in a really good spot and the hourglass ran out and Pitt came in behind, for instance. Or one of these other teams come in behind at the last second and that's the deal that gets done. And that's the risk you run when you're dealing with trade deadline at 3 p.m. It does happen sometimes where you feel like you're in a good spot, but all of a sudden something comes out of nowhere and that one team gives you that one extra pick or that one extra player that they really like, and the scouts say, yeah, we love that kid, get him over here. And the GM says, all right, my scouts are telling me I have to take this deal. I apologize.
Right.
And you move on. So
how about the amount that the Rangers paid for Andrew Kopp? I mean, you're talking second rounders.
Well, and again, to that point, right, we talked about he's a left-handed shot. And yes, maybe he can play the right wing, but there's no guarantees on that. There's no guarantees he could have played the top line with this Bruins team. And
I like him a lot. He's not a top line guy.
The Rangers got him to be a bottom six guy, and they gave that much up to do that. You can understand why Don would sit there and say, well, it's not that good of a fit for us to give all of that up.
Right.
And I think that's part of the other reason. If you look at it in hindsight after 7 or 8 hours of it and not having a deal done, you look at it and maybe there might not have been as good of a fit as we thought. And we kind of racked our brains on who they'd want and who they needed. Nothing was very clear. Raquel seemed to be the best option, but maybe even internally that wasn't the perfect fit and it wasn't worth going way out on a limb to get it. I'll bring the next part up, though. I would have liked them to get somebody.
Yeah.
Just anybody.
Yeah.
Because of depth, because of what happens with one injury when that one block shot happens, one growing injury happens, one hamstring pull happens. What happens to this lineup and how they plug holes? That's the issue.
So your next guy's up, assuming that Patrice back in, let's say Studnicka out, your next guys up in forward order are Studnicka, Bleed, right?
Yeah.
And your next D up, I mean, now you've got 8D.
Yeah.
But then, okay, Ashan being an extra. we'll call Josh Brown an extra 2. We don't know.
And I'll also say too, Lindholm's almost like 1.5 from what they have because of the minutes he can play.
Well,
they haven't had a defenseman that can play this amount of minutes.
A left shot, you're right.
With McAvoy.
Right.
They've had McAvoy to play these minutes, but they had, like, even Char in 19 couldn't play 26 minutes a night anymore.
Foregone conclusion he's with McAvoy?
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so. I think he can help Brandon Carlo out, who is at a very up and down year. I think he can help him out as much, if not almost even more, because Charlie can do so much, and he's very comfortable with Grizz. I think Carlo maybe, I don't know if you start him with Carlo, but you definitely give him time with Carlo to get his game right. All right, I want to wrap it up, this episode on this. I want to go back to Jake. And we, again, we're recording this after the Bruins game against Montreal. And he had a presser after the game. And relieved. Oh, I guess overtly he said he's relieved. Did he look relieved? I don't know. Reading body language, I guess he was engaged. He was very engaged in the presser. He admitted that yesterday and today and recent days were tough. He talked about, the uncertainty, which I guess, look, I've never been an NHL or trade deadline. It has to be an internal shitstorm because of, especially if you got a family. Jake isn't married, but still, it's that unknown of, am I leaving? And we all know what's been going on with him. But then, he did come around and say, okay, but now it's done. And I'm paraphrasing here. And he says, look, he was saying at the end, he's like, look, I'm here. Anytime you got a team that they're going for a Stanley Cup, you got to be happy. Do you believe that he can be happy enough here? I'm going to look at it, and I'll give you my opinion. I said this in pregame. If he doesn't show up, he's only hurting himself again. Now, he's got his money, so I get that. I get that, Razor. But there have to be a sense of pride, or am I too soapboxy here right now? You can tell me if I'm full of it. No,
I don't think you are. I think, and I mean, I'll even if it's not a pride thing, I'll go to the money thing because that can be easily. I believe that Jake thinks he's being underpaid at that number. I think he thinks he's taking.
Then why would he sign it?
Well, because he knows he has to. He knows he's in that situation. He doesn't want to go through a summer of not knowing where he's going. He doesn't want to go through a summer. You see what happens with unrestricted free agents. They get porked over nowadays. They really do. It's tough to find jobs in salary caps that stay level. So his agent probably, listen, you're getting a 2-year deal. You have 2 years to do it. But I still believe that he thinks he's a $6 million guy. And I think in that way, in his prideful way, that he wants to prove that he is. I think you can look at it from that point of view, that he wants to prove that he is a first liner, that he should be making more money, and that some team is going to want to give him an extension in a year and a half from now. And it
starts then with a hell of a playoff run.
It does.
Because if you go invisible and if you go perimeter, you're not helping yourself. Yes, you're going to have your money, and yes, you're going to be okay. Nobody's going to be doing the old putting the hat out for a guy like that, making $4 a year.
Yeah.
But I go back to this again. If, and it looks like it is going to be him with these guys, if he's going to be with Marchand and Bergeron, they're going to take anything. If he's not given the effort, they will not take it.
Well, no. And you see the effort that Marchand gave tonight in Montreal against a team that's out of the playoffs, and like the level those two guys bring it to, game one of the Stanley Cup playoffs, is astronomically higher than where they're at right now. The level those guys go to, and listen, to Jake's defense in this too, he does know what it takes. He has been in these playoff games. He has gone on these runs, so he can't plead naive. He can't be naive about it. He can't say he doesn't know. He can't say, like, he's seen this and he's actually brought it before. So you have no choice. You have no choice. You have to put your faith in him at this point. As a Bruins organization, as a Bruins fans, we have to say, listen, it's really on this kid to step it up and give us 2017, 18,
and 18, 19 in the playoffs. I mean, 18, 19 in 24 games, 4 goals, 7 assists, 62 shots on goal. So almost two and a half shots on goal per game. Played 15 minutes on average. He had some hits too. He had 18 takeaways. That means he was skating his ass off.
Yeah, that's what it's got to be.
That's what they need. They need the 18-19 DeBrusk, and he's going to be on a better line.
Yeah.
So let's hope that he can. Meanwhile, we've got 19 more games to go. The next game is on Thursday night when the Bruins take on Tampa.
This is an exciting game.
It is.
It's a real game. It's going to be a playoff game in the building. You've got at least one new body, your new fancy shiny toy, and this is for home ice. All of a sudden, you're playing for home ice advantage on Thursday night. And who would have thought that was going to be the case 8 weeks ago?
Right. I'm definitely with you on that, and it'd be interesting. Let's see what happens. And we are scheduled to do a morning brew after that game against Tampa Bay. We'll see how the Bruins show themselves in that game, and we'll specifically talk about that game. Lindholm should be in the lineup. I don't know why he wouldn't be. Let's assume he is. Bergeron, I think will be, but we'll wait and see. Bruins are off on Tuesday, and then Wednesday everybody gets back together. We'll see if there's any other things that we can update you on in that. But in the meantime, that'll wrap up this morning brew with Jaffe and Razor, presented by Berkshire Bank, and also presented or partnered with Fazenda. Go check out FazendaCoffee.com. All right, everybody, have a wonderful couple of days. We'll talk to you after Thursday's game. Have a good time and have a great coffee.